Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Day in Extra channel. We continue our coverage of the Vuelta Andalucia. As we can see, the team being presented here with Nairo Quintana and Enric Mas of Movistar, and the riders were getting ready to get underway, and this was a bit of a flat affair in terms of the stage profile, and many teams hadn't gotten anything out of the race yet. We even saw Uno X, who were going to play a pivotal role. Alexander Kristoff, friend of the channel as well, he was eyeing this stage up for potentially a stage win. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, you can see there with Maxim Heels wearing the green jersey. We also had UAE Emirates, the leaders of the race. Pavel Sivakov still wearing that yellow jersey and had a bit of a lead in the GC. But before we start, why not hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on the Cycling Day in Extra, and we will of course cover all the remaining stages as well. And why not check out our latest video over on the Cycling Dane channel. But with that out of the way, the third stage of the Vuelta Andalucia was a 162 kilometer long stage from Arjona to Pozo Blanco. The stage profile itself not too technical or challenging for the climbers. A bit of elevation gain towards the beginning, and then it was somewhat of a flat profile, but had a bit of a kick in parts, so wasn't entirely a sprint day or complete flat stage to say the least. The riders lined up with all the big jerseys at the front, and we even had some conversations there with Thomas Silva, rider from Uruguay, and many of these riders were looking to get something out of today, potentially just teasing the sprinters a bit. The Unibet team were definitely taking charge here. A number of smaller teams were making sure that they were going to be in the break from the early part of the race. And before long, we had three riders who were coming up to the sprint of the day, and the riders still made sure to keep out in front, with Thomas Silva, the man from Burgos PH, the most notable one here. The King of the Mountains jersey leader took the points on the Cat 2 climb of the day. These two riders built up a lead of 2 minutes and 6 seconds, 53.3 kilometers to go. He was joined by Diego Urratti of Kern Pharma and Lorenzo Pesci as well. Uno X were the team that were taking up the mantle to reduce this gap, or at least trying to. They had their whole team out here to make sure that Alexander Kristoff would be there at the end to potentially sprint for the win. Thomas Silva, the Masters jersey leader, was still out in front, and no, he doesn't ride for Burgos PH. He rides for Cara Rual, as we know. 2 minutes and 1 second. They still had a bit of an advantage with 48.5 kilometers to go. But as we know, the rule of thumb, 1 minute for every 10 kilometers. So it wasn't enough for these guys. They knew it was a doomed breakaway, and it surely wasn't long before they were going to get caught. With 46 kilometers to go, we still have Uno X taking up predominantly most of the work, despite not having the leader's jersey. And with 38 kilometers to go, they hadn't reduced much of their advantage, as the riders out in front still had over a 1 minute 40 second lead. They still kept that a few kilometers later as well, and the gorgeous architecture of Andalucia was on full show here with the parish of Santa Ana. That beautiful jersey as well for Carual's Silva was absolutely something to behold as well. But with 34 kilometers to go, the peloton were starting to take chunks out of this lead, and it almost came towards the 1 minute 30 mark, as we saw another friend of the channel, Julius Johansson, riding for UAE Emirates at the front. But we could see that there was trains forming here with 33.7 kilometers to go with Movistar, Euskaltel and Uno X. Euskaltel, of course, had that Dutch rider of David Dekker, not a Spanish rider, and he was looking to potentially do something here as well. With 28.9 kilometers, they still had a lead of 1 minute and 24 seconds, and here we had Jaco Ayula coming to the front as well, but they were still doing fairly well, as we saw the Kern Pharma rider getting a beat on here, and they were maintaining the work rate here. 28 kilometers to go, and just a few more seconds whittled away from their lead, and we were coming up towards this very novel feature of the race, which was known as the Golden Kilometer, with 3 sprints up for the riders, but more about that later. One of the riders was distanced as Silva was upping the tempo here. Only 12 seconds between them now and the peloton. The peloton had really started to push the pace up here because they wanted to get involved in that golden kilometer that we mentioned earlier. We could see that riders was being spat out the back here as well. They were really starting to accelerate hard, or lift the tempo, shall I say. 24 kilometers to go, and it was only 13 seconds at this point now for the two riders out in front. They knew their day was almost numbered, Silva looked around, but a crash happened behind, and here we could see what looked like Gianluca Brambilla, and Brandon Riviera was also caught out in that crash. 21.4 kilometers to go, and the pace was being lifted to about 52 kilometers an hour. The two riders were brought back by UAE Team Emirates. It looked like it was Marc Soler and then Tim Wellens on his wheel. Then we saw Euskaltel Euskadi, and they were trying to bring back their sprinter of David Decker, and that was a bit of a stressful situation for the team, but it looked like they were just about touching distance to the peloton. At the front, Movistar were doing rotations with Unibet, Ineos Grenadiers, and Uno X, Q36.5, or even sacrificing some riders. And then we got the confirmation here of what it is: 3 sprints with time bonuses of 3, 2, and 1 seconds for top 3 riders in each sprint. 3 sprints in 1 kilometer, and here we had Maxim Van Heels towards the front. Who was he working for? That was the big question here. Uno X were up there with Christoph. They were thinking about it. UAE Team Emirates got the first one. Tom Pidcock was thinking about it, just mistiming his sprint. And then we were coming close to the second sprint as well. Jeko Ayula up there towards the front. And we had Uno X, but also Tom Pidcock there, who was the crucial one. He was looking to reduce that deficit he had. The second sprint was coming up here. Tom Pidcock was looking like he was just about getting boxed in here by Marcus Holgaard. The UAE Team Emirates rider opened up the sprint here. Tom Pidcock trying to come around here. Was he going to be denied another few seconds here? It looked like the big Norwegian just had him out, but Pidcock did an absolutely remarkable piece of sprinting to get himself out of that potential box situation. And here on the hard sprint, Pidcock just managed to pip the Norwegian, but there was still 1 sprint left. That was the crucial thing, and a novel little inclusion by the organizers to make somewhat of a simple stage a bit more interesting. Pidcock was driving at the front here. He knew that last sprint was coming up, just doing everything he could, but Marcus Holgaard was on his wheel, the Norwegian champion. The Norwegian opened the sprint a lot taller than Pidcock. Pidcock tried to get in his draft and then come around the Norwegian, but it looked like it wasn't going to happen. But he still picked up 2 bonus seconds there as well. So that did aid him a bit. As we see here, Marc Soler was the one who took the first one. Tom Pidcock reacted too slow on that one. On the second sprint, Pidcock managed to get the better of the Norwegian. And on the final one, it was the Norwegian that got the better of Pidcock there. So Pidcock did pick up a handful of seconds between the 3 sprints and points as well, but he doesn't care about the points. It's more about the GC after that deficit he carried over from stage 1. Nevertheless, 15 kilometers to go, and suddenly the teams were pointing their attention more towards the finishing line. And as we can see, Pidcock moved himself up 21 seconds adrift of Pavel Sivakov in the virtual classification. Maxim Van Heels was coming to the front here. He had missed out. He was 2 minutes and 17 seconds down. They were coming through the narrow streets of these villages, as we've seen on the past few stages. UAE Team Emirates up here. Movistar was starting to take up the charge as many teams were refusing to do anything. Nevertheless, UAE Team Emirates eventually got to the front, and here they had Pablo Torres, the youngster, and he was doing a lot of work here for his teammates. And this was an interesting situation for UAE Team Emirates. They were just trying to defend the position now of Pavel Sivakov. 9.4 kilometers to go, and they still had a firm control of the front end of the peloton. They just wanted to keep Pavel Sivakov out of affairs, and with less than 5 kilometers to go, this looked like a very small group, but they were still making sure to keep the pressure on at the front, and it looked like it was Uno X now taking up the mantle, with riders behind taking it a bit easier, it seemed. When it came to 4 kilometers to go, Uno X Mobility were well and truly at the front, even with the Manchester jersey helping to pace this. This was a big opportunity for the team to try and do something here. Ineos Grenadiers were also up here trying to get involved, and with 3.3 kilometers to go, we could see a bit of wind was occurring, judging by the sign. Uno X were determined to have control, take control, and keep the control here at the front. 2.8 kilometers. Movistar were trying to move up here as well. So were Q36.5 with Tom Pidcock. He has a bit of a sprint on him, and with 2 kilometers to go, it was still that small group, and Uno X still firmly in charge at the front with Alexander Kristoff at the back end of that train. Pavel Sivakov sitting pretty, but with 1 kilometer to go, it was Ineos Grenadiers who were taking full control at the front. They had just pushed Uno X to the side, and they were now riding second fiddle in the sprint train. Ineos Grenadiers were opening it up, but Holgaard, he was determined to guide Kristoff up. Kristoff realized Holgaard didn't have too much gas left in the tank, so he went around his leader man, jumped towards the Ineos Grenadiers rider, had Pidcock on his wheel, Maxim Van Giel's desperately scrambling to try and get something out of this. We could see the Ineos Grenadiers rider, who I think was Ben Turner, was desperately trying to catch out Alexander Kristoff, but towards the finish, Alexander Kristoff, the Norwegian from Stavanger, just managed to pip the Yorkshireman and get the victory. Alexander Kristoff thanking his teammates, handshakes all around, fist bumps all around, and in the sprint from behind, we can see Tom Pidcock just running out of gas here after sprinting for the golden kilometer sprints. But Kristoff coming around the Yorkshireman and taking the victory ahead of Ben Turner. And Maxim Van Giels just catches Tom Pidcock on the line to deny him of third place there. Kristoff, first victory of the year. What a victory that is for him. And here is the top 10. Kristoff in first place. Ben Turner in second place. Maxim Van Giels in third place, Tom Pidcock in fourth place, Oliver Naesen as well in fifth place, Cesar Marquez, the Mexican, in sixth place, Florian Dauphin in seventh place, Ana Spoiler in eighth place, and two Spanish riders rounding out the top 10. But the leader is still Pavel Sivakov. 23 seconds ahead of Clermont Bertin. Tom Pidcock in third place with 26 seconds, picking up 6 bonus seconds. Maxim Van Giels in fourth place, 59 seconds down, picking up 4 seconds. Tim Wellens in 5th place. Marc Soler in 6th place. Stefan Kras in 7th place. Marcus Holgaard in 8th place. And we see why he was sprinting for those seconds. Johannes Stoute-Mittet in 9th place. And Nicolas Prudhomme in 10th place. But that is basically it for this video. We also saw Thomas Silva bring his baby onto the podium, which was quite sweet. And of course, as always, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and let me know down below what you thought of the race today. And check out the video on the Cycling Dane main channel about the transfer that really changed Tom Pidcock's career. But anyways, with that, thank you as always for watching, and I will see you around.